Welcome back, everyone. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has affirmed an appeal by the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, recognizing Sylvester Okenwa as its national chairman. The court in a judgment on Wednesday also awarded a 20 million naira fine against Edozie Njoku for filing a frivolous suit at the FCT High Court, Buhari. Recall that a few days ago, the Federal High Court in Abuja barred Njoku from parading himself as the national chairman of the party. In a ruling, Justice James Omotosho held that there was no valid court order, including a judgment from the Supreme Court, that recognized Mr. Njoku as APGA national chairman. In a related development, the sacked national chairman of APGA, Chief Edozie Njoku, said he had resolved to abide by the Supreme Court's judgment, which removed him from office. Meanwhile, Chekwas Okore, founder of APGA, has also faulted this court judgment, recognizing Sylvester Okenwa as the national chairman of the party. In the latest development, Okore condemned Justice Omotosho's ruling as provocative, damning, and audacious. He also accused the court of overstepping its bounds by allegedly recognizing Okenwa's leadership before the apex court had delivered its final verdict. Tonight, let's speak with Sylvester Okenwa, APGA national chairman, on this latest development and what this means for the future of the party. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Barrister. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm quite glad and thrilled to be with you tonight, and I really thank you for having me.
All right, so maybe I should start by congratulating you, and I can only imagine how good you feel about this judgment.
Well, yes, I feel good. For me, it's a victory for our party. It's a victory for democracy. It's a victory for justice. It's a victory for truth. Because at the end of the day, the truth prevailed. We've maintained consistently the position that we canvassed before the various courts, including Honorable Justice J.K. Omotosho of the Federal High Court and the appeal that we filed, where we had consistently maintained that the position taken by INEC when it decided to alter the leadership of our party on the 9th of July was not supported by any iota of court order or court judgment. And at last, we've been vindicated. So for me, it's a victory for democracy. It's a victory for all members of our party that at least the apex court judgment has now provided clarity and certainty, and of course a renewed strength of purpose for our leadership. So I think you are right to say if I'm in an ecstatic mood. Yes, I am, because for us, the distractions are now behind us, and we are more than focused to continue on the trajectory of development that we are trying as much as possible to bring.
So are you surprised that Edozie Njoku has now accepted the outcome of that judgment?
Why will I be surprised? He has no choice. I'm not surprised at all. For me, that's the only reasonable thing to do. It's not as if his acceptance means anything. You know, we've consistently maintained our position from day one, and now we've been vindicated. So for me, that's the only reasonable thing to do. But like I said, not as if his acceptance or rejection doesn't add anything to the fact that the apex court has spoken, and that is final.
Well, we also have Chekwas Okore, who is still saying that judgment is faulty. But we'll come back to that. You know, many believe this APGA leadership tussle involves three contenders: yourself, Sylvester Okenwa, Victor Oye, and Edozie Njoku. But it's always surprising to hear you say you're a victim of a crossfire. Please, I need some clarity.
No, actually, you know, if you follow the history of this latest crisis, you will recognize the issues that became the subject matter of this protracted legal battle arose from a convention of the party that was conducted in 2019. On the 31st of May 2019, APGA conducted its national convention. Incidentally, by the provisions of the Electoral Act, a political party that is seeking to conduct convention must first of all give INEC notice of convention. And INEC is statutorily required to attend and monitor the convention and thereafter produce a report. And so on the 31st of May 2019, incidentally, that was the day I was elected the National Legal Advisor of APGA. And so I have been part of this protracted legal battle from day one. And INEC attended, of course, the national chairman at that time was Dr. Victor Ikoye. And incidentally, he was coming for his second term in office. It's not as if he was elected at that convention for the first time. Oye was the national chairman of APGA from 2015 to 2019. So that is given. And as required by law, it is the national chairman of the party that is required to give notice to INEC of a holding of a convention. So there was no doubt at all about who the national chairman of APGA was between 2015 and 2019. And of course, Oye gave notice of convention, stated that the convention will be held in Awka, Anambra State. INEC attended, monitored. The entire BOT members of APGA, the NEC members, the entire national convention were at that convention, duly monitored. And thereafter, APGA proceeded with its business. Few weeks later, we started hearing snippets of a man or a total stranger who at that time was not even a member of the party, claiming to have conducted a parallel convention. And what began as a joke ultimately snowballed into a very big crisis in 2021 in the build down to the Anambra governorship election of 2021, and ultimately led us to where we are. So when I say that I'm a victim of the crossfire, like I said, the issues that we are canvassing the matter between Njoku and Oye was for a certain term of office between 2019 and 2023. And for people who are very conversant with the way and workings of the law, you will know that if there is a fixed term of office and that fixed term of office elapses, every issue concerning that office dies with the expulsion of time or the expiration of the term of office. In other words, if, for example, someone is elected governor of a state, which by the constitution is for a fixed term of 4 years, and then someone approaches the tribunal, maybe before the recent amendment to the constitution that now, grants a fixed time for hearing of election petition.
Barrister Sylvester, I asked that question because some members of your party have always disagreed with that stance. They say you're not totally innocent and that you cannot say that you're a victim of a crossfire because you belong to the Victoria faction.
Now, when I say I'm a victim of the crossfire, you have to understand. When you talk about faction, I will maintain consistently that we do not have a faction. What we have is an artificially engineered factionalization of the party. Because I've explained it and it's very clear. You see, when you talk about faction, it means that there is a division within a group. So it presupposes that there is in existence a group. And then some members of that group now decides to break away to form a faction. That is the true meaning of or essence of the word faction.
But isn't that what has been happening with the party?
No. That's what I'm saying. No, not when the party is intact, united and one. And then some strangers who are not members of the party decides to go about from one court to the other, trying to shop for one judgment or the other, to usurp the leadership of the party. It should be called what it is. It should be called rascality, and it should be condemned by every well-meaning Nigerian. But when you talk about division or factionalization, like I said,
Barrister, if the party was intact, nobody would have gone to court. But that May 31st APGA National Convention that produced you as the party national chairman was seen as a rebirth of APGA. But executive members of the party have been on this program at different times, explaining their own side of the story, which naturally suit their biases. Why has this crisis remained intractable? And I ask because APGA has had its fair share of legal battle, a party that has existed since 2002, and that's about 22 years. At the moment, the party controls just one state, and I keep wondering, if APGA controls just one state and won't put its house in order, what happens when the party controls 5, 10, 15 states? It's also considered a regional party, but the leadership of the party still finds it hard to spread the tentacles of the party beyond Anambra State. So why should anyone consider APGA as a serious political party?
Well, incidentally, your question is more or less double-edged, but I'll attempt an answer. First of all, you do not blame APGA for the issues that APGA has faced over the years. Like I said, most of the issues APGA has faced are artificially engineered. And you do not blame APGA. Like I said, APGA as a political party gave notice of convention. The convention was duly conducted, monitored by INEC, and officers emerged at that convention. And all of a sudden, You have strangers, people who are not members of the party, shopping for one court order to usurp the leadership of the party. How do you blame the party for such situation?
So
you can't definitely blame the party. And that's why I said, no, you need to understand. You need to understand these things. You see, that's why I said you must call it what it is. It is rascality, and must be condemned. Just like I wish I can get across to you the judgment of the Supreme Court. You will see where the Supreme Court descended heavily on self-serving politicians who do not have the interests of the nation at heart, and who seek always trying as much as possible to undermine the integrity of the judiciary. Because in the course of this, the judiciary has been called to question. Because sometimes when they proceed to court, they procure orders of court. In 2021, when some persons traveled all the way from Anambra State to Jigawa to procure a court order, how do you blame APGA? Incidentally, the courts of law are open for well-meaning Nigerians. And then at the time processes are filed in court, there is no filter to know which one is frivolous and which one is not frivolous. Ultimately, when a decision is rendered, then it becomes the subject of an appeal, and we continue in that circus every 4 years. Now, I've said this severally. The major problem that APGA has faced over the years is an attempt to muzzle APGA out of Anambra State. That is the major problem APGA has faced. And you do not see this kind of rascality in the ruling party, because nobody will have the guts to probably proceed to court to challenge the leadership of the ruling party, because you have the president of the country and so many politicians who occupy various offices. But in APGA, they believe that the only way they can take APGA out of Anambra State is to change the trajectory of its leadership. Because, look, APGA has been in control of the helm of affairs in Anambra from 2006 till date. And some persons who are enemies of democracy, who do not enjoy the trajectory of development that has been witnessed in Anambra, are the people who are hell-bent on stopping the progress that APGA has made.
Barrister, who are these people you're talking about?
Of course, they know themselves. I call them political merchants. People who just believe that the government of the state should line up their pocket with the money. They are somebody will know them, and they know themselves.
You know, I'm asking because
you are actually wanting me to, because when you mention, when you see, let me explain how these things are. Because when you want me to give you a name, you're actually trying to open me to a defamatory suit or not. And I'm not going to.
And I think that's why you're here tonight. I think that's why you're here tonight. Because most times, kindly hold on, most times, this crisis
you need to understand.
Actually about the finances of the party. Because in the past, the major causes of this fracas, I mean, so to speak, has been accusations of bribery amid non-conduct of primary election. Old members of the party won't stop saying APGA is no longer run as a political party, but as a private limited liability company. How true is this?
Absolutely not true. And then when you talk about non-conduct of primaries, then you see the STM people wallow in ignorance. Of course, I'm a lawyer. You cannot actually have a candidate or nominate a candidate lawfully under the Electoral Act, at least from 2010 till date, if you do not conduct primaries. So I don't know where the issue of non-conduct of primary is coming about. I don't even know where the issue of bribery is coming about. It's quite strange to me. Like I said, the major problem, now, you need to understand the trajectory of APGA crisis from 2006 till date. You ask yourself one question. Why does it seem that this recurring decimal always happens every 4 years as we build up or approach the Anambra governorship election? Because, like the Supreme Court has settled this issue, APGA is going to nominate candidates for the next election, and we'll have the election peacefully, and APGA will win. And when APGA wins, you don't hear anything. The next time you hear something again is if we approach the next cycle of election. So, it's always very, very easy to discern what the truth is and what the motive of the people who are sponsoring this crisis is. For them, the ultimate aim, the ultimate motive is to go for the jugular with regards to the finances of Anambra State. Because they believe that the only way they can do that is to scuttle or derail the leadership of the party. And once they do that, they know that the governor will be distracted. But for us, the governor of the state, who is incidentally the national leader of our party, is more than focused. There was nothing they did not throw at him. Of course, you are a member, you are in the media sector. you heard all manner of frivolous allegations. The man you mentioned, Chief Chekwas Okorie and the Edozie Njoku, came out and said that the governor spent $20 million. You see, there is no kind of madness we have not had in this country. But it's a pity. It's a pity that in this 21st century, we are still discussing issues like this. The Supreme Court has stated in more than 1 million cases that the issues concerning the internal affairs of a political party are not justiciable. Yet, this element will always move from one court to the other, seeking to get one justice or one judgment or the other. And I think that this is the right time for the fourth estate of the realm, the journalists, members of the media, to actually come out and play their role in the society by calling out these men. Like I said, you need to listen to the judgment of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court descended heavily.
You keep talking about these men, but you wouldn't give us names. Are these people politicians or chieftains of your party who intend to take over from
I've mentioned names. I've mentioned Chief Chekwas Okorie. I've mentioned Chief Chekwas Okorie. I've mentioned Edozie Njoku. And they know who their sponsors are. You were asking for names. I'm just giving you two names in
the crisis in your party is sponsored by political gladiators. You say few members of the PDP have been bold enough to blame the APC for the party's predicament. So you're saying tonight that Chief Chekwas Okorie is the one responsible for the crisis in the party. All right. So let's move on.
Like I said, I mentioned Chief Chekwas Okorie. I mentioned Chief Edozie Njoku. And they know who their sponsors are.
All right. You know, you took over APGA after 8 years of Victoria chairmanship. What sort of a party did you inherit?
For me, of course, if you recall, we came into office on the 31st of May 2023, and that was following the 2020 general election. Which for me it was maybe an election, I would say, mixed fortunes for the party. The party lost control of some of the seats it was controlling at that time. And for us, the party decided that it was the appropriate time to go back to the drawing board to look at how the party has fared from its formation and registration in 2002 till date. And the party saw equally that from the pattern of voting that arose from that election, we saw increased participation of young persons in trying as much as possible to shape their destiny in our country. And the party decided that the best time for the party to actually transit to the next era of leadership in the party, especially trying as much as possible to open up the party as a party that is attractive for ordinary Nigerians and for young people, that there was no better time than 2023. And that was what led to my emergence as a national chairman. And if you say, what kind of party did I inherit? Yes, the crisis, of course, is well known to Nigerians. We inherited a crisis that had been polarized so much by needless crisis. And I say needless crisis because APGA ordinarily should be a very peaceful party, a peaceful movement of the people. But then, like I always say, these political buccaneers have decided to hijack the affairs of the party and trying as much as possible to derail or scuttle the leadership of the party. But I'll tell you one thing. Throughout the duration of the time that we were in court, trying to sort out our leadership issues, we did not waver with regards to our commitment and implementing our drive agenda. I recall sometime last year, your station graciously played host to me, and where I tried as much as possible to reel out what our manifesto is. I tried to explain to Nigerians about the drive APGA agenda. And the drive agenda, of course, the drive stands for the acronym. You have discipline, rebranding and repositioning the party, trying as much as possible to ensure inclusive leadership at all levels of the party, and then trying as much as possible to ensure that the party is visible to Nigerians and to expand the party beyond the frontiers of just the Southeast or as a political party that is just attractive to Southeasterners, but as much as possible to other parts of the country. Is brothers and one of the things we say is that in APGA we are a party that is rooted in progressive ideology of leaving no one behind. And then we say, what does this mean for an ordinary person, an ordinary Nigerian, a member of the party? When we say we are not leaving anyone behind, what exactly is the role that the party is expected to play in the affairs of Nigerians. And so when we looked at all these things, we tried as much as possible to try to proffer solutions. And we said, if you have an APGA government in place, what are the basic or the minimum requirements that you must see to say this government is controlled by APGA? So and so state government is controlled by APGA. So and so elected member of the House of Assembly or the National Assembly is elected on the platform of APGA. Now, if you look at what is happening in Anambra State, you see the progressive ideals of our party is currently at play, because we are looking at so many social buffers that we can, as much as possible, try to provide to the downtrodden, to the weakest link in the society. Because for us, we say that a system is as strong as the weakest link in the society. And that's it for us in APGA.
So, Barrister, the mantra of the party, progressive ideology of not leaving anyone behind. So let's talk about that. Because now that it looks like this distraction is over. Edoze Njoku, who was laying claim to the same office you occupy, has accepted the verdict of the court. How do you intend to reconcile the aggrieved parties, himself and his followers? If you have the opportunity of engaging the aggrieved party members, what will you be telling them to convince them to support you?
Now, I like the question, because there is an assumption you have made in your question, and that is aggrieved members, not aggrieved non-members. Because, like I said, there are some political players in this crisis that are not members of the party. And so we're not talking about those people. Now, for the aggrieved members, immediately after the Supreme Court judgment, why some of our members who incidentally were with us from day one were trying to jubilate, I did grant an interview and I said that the victory does not really call for celebration. For me, it calls for sober reflection. Because APGA has been, like I said, needlessly distracted by unnecessary crises. Crises engineered by self-serving politicians. Now, we stated clearly that there are members of the party who were genuinely confused. And when I say genuinely confused, you do not blame a member of the party who, upon waking up on the 9th of July, saw from the website of the party that there are other persons who have now been updated or uploaded as national officers of the party. And if they decide to go in line with those persons who have been updated or uploaded by no less an entity or an agency other than the commission that is constitutionally enshrined with the responsibility of monitoring or keeping the records of the officers of a political party. So I do not blame those members who were genuinely confused as a result of the turn of events. And we did decide that for us there is no victor and there is no vanquished. We are all one. Like I said, what the judgment of the Supreme Court and of course the judgment of the Federal High Court that was delivered last week has provided for APGA is one, clarity of purpose and certainty, in the sense that it is now clear to all and sundry that we are the legitimate occupiers of various offices in our platform. And so we call on all our members, irrespective of the divide that you fought on. I granted a press conference today and I said that we are granting unconditional amnesty to everyone who was caught up in this needless crisis. We are one. Let us close ranks. We are one united family. We are a movement that is rooted in the progressive ideals of the people. And we want everybody, if you have anything, if you're interested in a united Nigeria, if you're interested in a progressive Nigeria, if you're interested in a Nigeria that works for all Nigerians, then the political party you should join is the foremost progressive party in Nigeria, which is the All Progressives Grand Alliance. That is our position. I've consistently maintained that anybody who fought on any faction is welcomed into the party 100%. There is no condition attached to anybody to rejoin the party formally. The most important thing is that all hands must be on deck to build the party, to become that viable and formidable party that we can all be proud of. That's my position, and that's the position of the leadership of the party today.
All right, let me ask you this question. Now that it looks like the storm is over, you know, to many, the roadmap to take APGA beyond the Southeast, making it a true national party, should be the task ahead of you now. But that looks like, I mean, some say that looks like a tall order. So what strategy would you deploy to ensure APGA controls Southeast as its
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't really get your question. So sorry.
Barrister, did you get that question?
Can you hear me?
Okay, so...
No. That's what
I said to many...
I really apologize for not getting you.
It's okay. To many, the roadmap to take APGA beyond the Southeast, making it a true national party, should be the task ahead of you now. What strategies do you intend to employ?
Now, on the 1st of June, we launched an online massive registration of membership for our political party. And if you check, we became the first political party ever to launch an online membership. Like I said, for us in APGA, we are rooted in progressivism. And one of the things we decided to do is that we've tried as much as possible to look at the problems that this country has been facing. And we've tried to proffer solutions. If you look at our manifesto, because we believe that in the correct state of affairs, what should draw people to a political party are what that political party represents. So if you say you want to belong to party A or B or C or D, then the first thing you do is you pick up a constitution of that party, read it from page to page until the end, pick up the manifesto of that party so that you know what that party actually represents. Unfortunately, in our country, political parties are no longer identified by their manifesto or their core ideology. That's why you see someone belong to party A in the morning, and by evening he now belongs to party B. And for us, this is one of the things we try as much as possible to discourage in our political party. So for us, the quest to telling Nigerians to embrace APGA is to look at the issues that the country is facing and to try as much as possible to proffer solutions. On various interviews I've granted, I've stated that APGA, number one, supports true federalism. And when we talk about true federalism, we say it's actually a federation that power is evenly distributed between, of course, the government at the center and the federating unit, not where you concentrate so much powers at the center. I tried as much as possible to proffer solution to the insecurity system, the insecurity scourge that is actually trying to cripple businesses and the economy of the country by saying that the National Assembly must, as a matter of urgency, embark on a thorough review, if not probably an amendment, if not thorough review of the Constitution. And one of the things I've said is that this is the proper time to decentralize the security architecture in the country. There is no way, it is not reasonable, and it is not tenable for you to have the government at the center trying as much as possible to secure all parts of the country. There is no way such a system will work. If you continue with such a system, then you know that the country is geared for doom. And I called on the president to ensure, just like the president about 2-3 months ago ensured that full local government autonomy is granted. And we commend him as a Democrat because he actually engineered the suit that was filed at the Supreme Court and which ultimately, culminated in the landmark judgment that was delivered by the Supreme Court in July, that local governments in the country now receive their allocation directly from the federal government. And of course,
I think you're not answering my question.
Development at the grassroots. No, I am coming. I said it is these issues that APGA, because when APGA tries to proffer solution to the myriads of the problem, that is the only way Nigerians can actually understand that this is a party that truly cares for them and will now make them to try as much as possible to join the party. I think that's the answer to your question. And like I said,
let's talk about other issues because of time. Because of time, how do you react to Bianca Ojukwu appointment? She's a member of APGA, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's also a BOT member. How much of an advantage is that to the party and the region?
Of course, it's an advantage for us. It's a recognition by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I did commend him for that, for running an inclusive government. Upon assuming office in 2023, I remember I granted press statement and interviews. I think I was on your station, and I called on the president because there is a difference between election and governance. Now, at the stage of election, we belong to various political parties. Incidentally, you cannot ascend to any political office in the country except you are sponsored by a political party. So it's understandable that the president is of the APC. But the moment the president is elected, and then every issues or legal issues surrounding his election is settled by the court, he becomes a president for all Nigerians. And as a political party, I say it, I do what I call constructive criticism. I play constructive opposition. I do not play an opposition where, of course, the only interest of that political party is to ensure that the president does not succeed. For me, that does not work. If the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria succeeds, he succeeds for all Nigerians, irrespective of the political party that they belong. There are people who do not belong to a political party. What they want is to ensure that the president actually fulfills his campaign promises and obligations to Nigerians. And I called on the president at that time to make sure that he opens up his government to people from other political parties, technocrats who have what it takes to improve his government. And I'm glad that the president has actually listened to that call by myself, by, of course, calling on no less a person than the wife of our former spiritual leader, Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, who has now rejoined his cabinet. And like I said, like you said, he's a member of the party, and not just a member, he's a BOT member. And she had our full support and blessing. And we hope that she's going to show the progressive ideas of our political party.
Well, if it gets harder for APGA to transcend into a national party, will the party in the near future consider merging with other mega parties?
For me, it will be, I should say it will be premature for me to answer that question, because there are no discussions concerning merger or any form of alliance at this moment. Incidentally, I am the national chairman. There are decisions that are to be taken by either the neck of the party or by the national convention. And so, the only reasonable answer I can give to that question is that APGA is interested in a Nigerian that works for all Nigerians. And if anything will lead to having a formidable and a robust economy, then APGA is going to be part of that discussion. That's our only interest.
All right. You know, Barrister, finally, Anambra State had a local government election. Close to 1 decade after the last elected local council representatives in Anambra State served out their tenure. The last local government election in that state was held in January 2014 by Mr. Peter Obi.
Absolutely.
And various political parties boycotted this election. APC, Labour Party, which also went to court to challenge the process. And this has, elicited reactions, including people who insisted that the election was below average and least expected better from Governor Soludo. How do you react to this?
My reaction is simple. Some political parties decided to take the best option available for them in the face of a monumental defeat that was staring them in the face. So it's that simple. You try as much as possible to allude to any reasonable, whether illogical or unreasonable reasons that they advance for boycotting that election, because they know that actually APGA is firmly rooted in Anambra State. We say that APGA is Anambra and Anambra is APGA. Now, if you look at some of the issues they canvassed or they claimed, one, they claimed that the timetable for that election was short, and that they claimed that there were certain provisions in the Electoral Act that were not complied with by the State Electoral Commission in the conduct of that election. Incidentally, the position has now been vindicated, our position and the position of the State Electoral Commission has now been vindicated by the recent Court of Appeal judgment that stated clearly that the Electoral Act is not the governing law for local government election. Rather, the local government or the electoral laws of each respective state, because it is clear in the Constitution who the power resides with respect to making laws for the conduct of local government election, and is with the houses of assembly of each respective state. So the issues that they were canvassing for me was a non-starter. And like I said, it was just the only reasonable thing for them to do in the face of the imminent defeat that was staring them in the face. So I understand them and I empathize with them, but there is actually nothing anybody can do about it.
Barrister Sylvester, let's wrap up with this. Do political parties have a future in Nigeria?
Sorry,
did you get that question? Do opposition political parties have a future in Nigeria? And do you agree with me that to stand a chance at governing, political parties must first prove to voters that they can function as an effective opposition? So when we say progressive opposition politics, how do we engender this in the country?
Yes. For us, a political party is clearly, like I said earlier on, you see, in our country, the issue of participation in politics has largely been distorted as a result of our perception of what role a political party should play and what role an opposition political party should play within the governance of a country. In our country, Nigeria, the major problem that is facing this country today is the fact that political parties are no longer clearly identifiable by what they represent, what their ideologies are. If you recall, if you follow the trajectory of political evolution in Nigeria from the First Republic to the Second Republic, you will see that some of the political parties at that time were clearly identified. For example, if you see some of the political parties that were formed then by late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, you will see that at the center point of their political participation was constructive opposition and trying as much as possible to engender both free healthcare and accessible and free compulsory education for almost everybody in the society. That was clearly what that political party was identified with. But today, you see persons, in fact today, most times, like I said earlier on, you see a politician who was elected on the platform of a party in the morning, and then immediately he gets sworn into the this, he cross carpets to the opposition party. And then, sorry, to the ruling party. If you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has tried as much as possible to bring a solution to some of these problems by saying that the moment you cross carpet from one party to the other, you're supposed to resign your membership of the Legislative House because you have left the political party on whose platform you were elected. But you and I know that that particular provision has never been implemented in the country and nothing anybody has done about it. Of course, you see the crisis that is playing out in Rivers State and so many other parts of the country. So these are some of the reasons as much as possible that try to effectively stifle opposition politics. The next one is, like I said, the concentration of power. Power is unnecessarily and unduly concentrated at the center. There is need to devolve power so that we can have strong institutions across the country. One of the major problems facing this country is that we have strong individuals and not strong institutions. When you build strong institutions, these institutions take care of the rascality of not just those in power, but every citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so these are part of what will help our country build constructive and effective political opposition in our country.
All right, Barrister, I guess it's a good way to end the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. I've been speaking with Barrister Sylvester Ezeokenwa, National Chairman, All Progressive Grand Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I wish you the very best going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. I'm quite thrilled and pleased to be with you tonight. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone, and have a great weekend.